What's going on, guys? My name is Jay Padilla, and today I'm going to be sharing my best tips and tricks you can use when it comes to designing your own original characters. Now, these are all things I believe will help you create an interesting and unforgettable character design, so you can either take my advice and apply what you think is valuable to you in your artistic journey, or you can completely disregard everything that I'm saying. It's completely up to you. Now, this video is part one talking about character design because I don't want to give you guys a super long video throwing a lot of different concepts and ideas at you, and in the end leaving you with information overload and not even remembering anything I've said. But instead, you can take the tips I give in this video and apply them right now, and in the next video I'll give you even more tips on how to push your character's look even further, so stay tuned for that. In the background of this video, I'm going to be working on one of my favorite character designs I've done so far, and it was for my original superhero Rift. There's going to be more of him later, but right now let's jump straight into the video. So you want to make your character stand out and be recognizable by anyone who sees them. But in order to know how to make your character designs engaging and quote-unquote good, you need to know the pitfalls you need to avoid that makes the character design bad. Now, for me personally, I wouldn't say there are inherently bad character designs, because the way I see it, a bad character design is a design that does not accomplish or convey the original idea the creator had in mind, or it does not effectively suit the purpose the design was created for, such as an overly complex character being designed for an animated cartoon, or a medieval knight designed for a third-person shooter. One major aspect of a bad character design is when you try to overcomplicate the design. A good design should be simple and concise based on the shape language, color palette, and silhouette you give the character. Just keep it simple when you are designing your character, and you've already avoided the major factor that plagues most bad character designs. Another mistake is making the character design in extremes. And what I mean by that is when a character's apparel or color palette is too extreme with high saturations and vibrant rainbow colors littered everywhere, while the character is too bland and everything just sort of bleeds together and leaves the design looking like a muddy mess. And their clothes have no real consistency or functionality, and it looks like you threw them in a randomized character generator and kept whatever it spat out. But now that we're covered what makes a design bad, let's move on to what makes a good character design. When it comes to making a good character design, I believe the main thing you should focus on is this design a good representation of who the character is and what the story is about? Let me give a few examples so you can understand what I mean by that. Let's use Saitama and Eren from One Punch Man and Attack on Titan. Now, both of these characters have good designs because they both convey to the audience what the author or the creator is trying to express through their designs. Saitama's design is relatively basic with simple shapes and bright colors to showcase that he is just an average guy who is a superhero and that his story may be a little relaxed and goofy. And with Eren, you have his complex ODM gear, his weapons, his soldier's uniform, and his detailed hair and eyes. That tells you that this story is a little more serious and the tone is more realistic than that of One Punch Man. You can also gather from Eren's design that he is someone who is driven, focused, and maybe even a little angry. But with Saitama, you can guess he's just going through the motions of everyday life with nothing really significant going on with him. Those aspects of their character designs tie in nicely with not only their personality, but also the themes of their stories, but we'll talk about that a little later in the video. Something you should think about in designing your character is their shape language. Shape language is a way to convey a certain feeling or emotion or even personality from a character based on simple shapes and the meanings we derive from them. So to show you what I mean, I'll use the characters from the original Justice League cartoon. And as a side note, if you really want to study the use of shape language, researching cartoon character designs will be the most useful because cartoons is where this concept is applied all the time to make interesting and unique designs that will catch the audience's attention. The three main shapes used in designs are squares, circles, and triangles. Squares convey a sense of sturdiness and strength, unmovable and unwavering kind of personality. Circles are more lighthearted and welcoming, kind of playful or goofy, and triangles are more aggressive and dangerous with its sharp edges. They can give you a sense of fear or warning to not mess with a certain character. Now, using the characters from Justice League, if you look at Superman, Batman, Flash, and Green Lantern, they all have those big broad shoulders and wide waists, and essentially look like two huge squares stacked on top of each other. But with Batman with his ears, they are also two small triangles, showing Batman should be slightly scary or intimidating at first glance than the rest. Now, if you look at Wonder Woman and Hawkgirl, they still have that square upper body signifying their strength, but if you go down towards their hips, they have more of a circular look to them, highlighting their curves to show that they are not only strong but also beautiful. If you put the two side by side, you can also see what makes them different personality wise. You see, Hawkgirl has her helmet, which has sharp pointy triangles at the end, and her mace, which is essentially just a circle with triangles sticking out of it, showing Hawkgirl's more aggressive and dangerous side. Color plays a major role when it comes to character design because just like using shape language to hit at a character's personality, color also makes your audience feel a certain emotion when they see it. Each color has a meaning or emotion that people will associate once they see it. Red usually shows strength, power, passion, or even rage, anger, and danger. Blues can be more relaxing and peaceful characters, intelligent and playful, and green can be earthy, nature-like. They can give emotions of greed, envy, jealousy, or even sickness. So you need to be mindful of these things and make sure the colors you use to help show the meaning behind your character and they don't detract from the meaning that you actually want to convey. When it comes to coloring your character, it is also smart to use colors that work well together and don't compete against each other for attention. To break this up when choosing the color palette, think of these 6 color schemes. The first is monochromatic, and that's when you take one color and use different levels of hue and saturation throughout the entirety of the design. Analogous is when you choose one color and use the 2 colors directly next to it. Next is complementary colors, when you use one color and then use a color completely on the opposite side of the color wheel that complements the first and creates a great contrast between the two. For split complementary, this is if you don't want a huge leap in contrast between 2 opposing colors. You can use a third color from either side of the complementary color to make a more harmonious palette. The triad color scheme is when you take 3 colors that are equal distance from each other on the color wheel. This is mainly used for variety and high contrasting colors to really make a design stand out. And finally, there's the tetradic color scheme, where you take 2 sets of complementary colors and choose one to be the main color focus to create a balanced color design using warm and cool colors. Now, these color schemes aren't hard rules you have to follow. They are more sort of guides you can use if you're having trouble figuring out a good palette for your character. But once you get a grasp of the look you're going for, you can just as easily break these rules and do what you feel is best for the look of your design. Iconography isn't something that applies to all designs or is even necessary for all designs, but it is a concept you can use to make your characters more unique and identifiable to people. This concept is used all throughout the superhero genre, and what iconography means is the visual images and symbols used in a work of art or the study or interpretation of these, which in simple terms means a symbol or an image that has a secondary meaning behind it. So to give an example, take Superman's S shield in his design. Yes, it's a regular S on his chest, but the symbol has now become known as a symbol of hope for people. That's why almost every hero has a specific icon on their outfit to not only identify who they are, but also when people see that symbol, they immediately associate it with the concept or emotion behind what they are seeing. This is the last thing I want to touch on for this video on character design, so stay tuned for part 2 where I cover even more on the topic of designing characters. But one way you can test to see if your character is truly noticeable and can be easily recognized even from a distance is the silhouette test. This is when you take the final look at your character and completely black out their silhouette and see if the design is clear enough and has enough distinguishing features that your character won't be confused with anyone else's. You can see this a lot in the design of manga and anime main characters, specifically in the hair. Each of these characters has their own distinctive look that is instantly recognizable by the audience without having to see their colors or even their faces. You can also apply this when it comes to creating poses for your characters by just blacking out everything else and seeing if the pose is clear and readable and not just a big confusing blob. Alright guys, that's going to do it for part 1 of designing characters. If you enjoyed this video and it was helpful to you, then do consider leaving a like and comment your own tips you have when you design characters and hopefully help other artists who are trying to learn. And there may have been some things that I missed that you can shed some light on. And if you like my channel and the content I create, then do subscribe for more and turn on the notification bell so you are aware when I upload any and everything. And I will see you all next time.